In PR, just to double down on that, we specialize in visibility, right? But we specialize in visibility that has a high degree of credibility. So we look for, mediums and channels like podcasting where there's just transfer of trust, because that is the quickest means to the end if you want to go from a borrowed audience to an owned audience.
Welcome to the Find Your Influence podcast. This episode, proudly sponsored by the Guinea Group of Companies, an organisation that helps leaders upgrade their mindset, upskill their leadership, and uplift their teams. If you would like the opportunity to sponsor an episode of our podcast, please reach out to the team at the Guinea Group, theguineagroup.com.au, the team at theguineagroup.com.au. Can't wait to hear from you. And if you would like to be a podcast guest, click on the information sheet that is available on the podcast page. Welcome to all of our viewers and our listeners, wherever you get your podcast. This is Anton Guinea with the Find Your Influence podcast, where the topic of influence, we go deep on it because it's such an important topic for leaders and for thought leaders, which we're going to talk about soon with the amazing Shanté Micah. Let me tell you about Shanté. Shanté is a veteran, and I love that word, which means such a long history of experience, PR and communications executive, author of, and what I love about Shanté is Shanté's book sitting over Shanté's right shoulder, and the book is called PR Power Play, and I think when you're in PR and you're in comms, you need to be able to say what you mean, and PR Power Play says it all as the title of the book. Shanté is also the co-founder of Good News, which is a visibility intelligence company delivering founders, executives, and brands, turning them into authoritative industry voices. I've never heard that term before, so I love that. 20 years of experience, which is where the veteranship comes from. Shanté has developed a reputation for transforming PR into a cost center. Love that. From a cost center into a predictable growth engine. Earning, listen carefully to this number. Shanté has earned Shanté's clients billions in media value, industry recognition, and sustained thought leadership. Now, that I don't know too many people that I've spoken to that can say that they earn, not for themselves maybe, I know people who've sold for billions, but to say they've earned their clients billions through PR, communication, thought leadership, big deal. Welcome, Shanté. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Good. And full transparency, we forgot to hit record, so Shanté gets a chance to answer this question twice.
That's
Thank
right.
you, Shanté.
Take two.
That's right, take two. Thought leadership, Shanté. Could you quickly take us through that again, please, for our listeners? And, if you are creating thought leaders and helping people become thought leaders, what does that actually mean?
Yeah. So very quickly, thought leadership has been used a lot. It's this term that's become more of a marketing term. And so we've lost the meaning of it in a lot of ways. But if you take it back to first principle thinking, the idea of thought leadership is being able to convey like a category of one type of idea, and then having a body of work that supports that idea. And a body of work could be everything from a book. I know you've written books, to a podcast, to being able to syndicate that, to to speaking platforms, to obviously the products that you give, the services you provide, to just the ideas. And a true thought leader is able to take what is existing and convey it in a way that people understand it better, deeper, with more practical application. To me, that is what I look for when someone comes to me and they say, I feel invisible, I want to be a thought leader. What they're telling me is that they want to be they want to be someone in their industry that people think, oh, I know them, and they own this. They own this like section.
That was way better than the first time.
Thank you.
That was cool. I like that. People come to you and they say, and I wrote this down,
I want to be noticed for
Yeah.
what I do. Wow. That's a powerful thing to be able to articulate. Like a lot of us, are out there on the planet and, we're doing our thing and we're writing stuff and creating bodies of work. Sometimes you wonder and we've all got successful business, but you wonder, does anyone notice? I love
I
that.
mean, yeah, and it's noisy out there.
Ah!
It's noisy. It is hard to get people's attention. I think we all have the attention of like a goldfish now, is what what the studies
Well,
say.
less than a goldfish, apparently. Have you read that
Okay.
study?
All
True
right.
story.
But we do have these platforms like podcasting where you can get someone's attention for much longer, which is really good, up to 20 minutes, which is light years beyond anything else.
So we're on the right track doing podcasting because we do keep people engaged.
Yes, yes. So if you know how to produce one well, then that is obviously you're able to bring in, you're curating the audience. But then there's this great thing that happens is this transfer of trust to all of your guests, because obviously your audience trusts you, Anton, to vet your guests, to then to look into them so that that transfer of trust that they feel in you goes to the guest. So that is one way to really get a lot of visibility, but you need visibility with authority. Like that is the difference in today's very noisy marketplace.
Can you just say that last one again? I had to write transfer of trust down because I've never heard that. That is such a beautiful thing.
Yes.
Then you said something about authority.
Yeah. So, I mean, in PR, just to double down on that, we specialize in visibility, right? But we specialize in visibility that has a high degree of credibility. So we look for, mediums and channels like podcasting where there's just transfer of trust, because that is the quickest means to the end if you want to go from a borrowed audience to an owned audience. And podcast hosts who are content creators at their heart, they're caretakers of a brand and an audience. If you can show up for them, then it is just this like beautiful like co-creation that you're able to do. But the other thing is like you need visibility, but anymore we're seeing this kind of like fall of influencers that are happening because there's a lot of visibility, but not a lot of credibility or authority, right? So in PR, and we've been talking about this for decades and decades, we look for authority, we look for credibility. To us, otherwise the visibility the math isn't right. Like it's just not enough. Everything that we do is about reputation, and we want to build your reputation. So that transfer of trust, that visibility with high degrees of credibility and clout, because clout comes from the combination of those two, is where it's at.
That is some of the highest, most articulate explanations of marketing and PR that I've ever heard, bar none, in 20 years of being in business.
I think about this a lot. I have so many hot takes, so much so I had to write a book, because I think there's this reckoning that is happening right now, especially with AI. If you notice that LLMs prefer things like earned media, well, there's a reason for it. It has a high degree of authority, and authority can be trusted over just pure content. So AI has definitely increased the amount of content out there, but AI is trying to self-correct by making suggestions like AI search. I think they were saying that it's like 70% of it will often lean towards an earned media source, which is PR over marketing, right?
Okay.
Because of that built-in authority, right? Now, a lot of that comes from, high domain authorities as well, because you get, big publications have a lot of domain authority. But if you have journalists that are writing these things, then obviously the journalistic integrity is behind all of it. But then we're also seeing with, again, podcasts. I love podcasts. I have this like long-standing love of podcasts as a platform. And before AI, podcasting shows up in the second biggest search engine, which is YouTube, right? I imagine that you syndicate to all the platforms, but then you also put yourself on YouTube. Well, that's brilliant because it's the second biggest search engine in the world.
I didn't know that. YouTube is the second bit after Google, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. So
How did I not know that?
my whole shtick has always been when I start working with a brand, the first thing that I do is we need to get your executives, your VIPs, it could be your chief science officer, your director of nonprofit, whoever, on podcasts. That's like point A. Because of how much just visibility and authority is baked in.
As well as that, Shanté, like we're going to talk for 30 to 40 minutes, yeah? Now, that is 30 reels.
Yes.
Literally.
So that is the other part that I want more people to talk about is the amount of content that you don't even have to produce for yourself if you are on podcasts, because Anton, you're going to do all the work for me. I show up and I get to just keep promoting the same thing. Hopefully I'm a good guest. And then I follow up with the promotional of that, the promotion of that. But all of that content, it's evergreen, and it's a 30 reels from one conversation. You do that a handful of times per month. Tell me how hard it is to be on social media, and you don't even have to be dancing on social media, which is a lot of people that work with me. They're like, I don't feel
I don't want to dance.
comfortable like marketing myself the same way other people do. And I'm like, you don't even have to. So yeah.
It's like, seriously, I can't, we get so many little small businesses, don't we, that come to us and say, how do we do social media? Because we do it. And I'm going to have to, literally, it's going to have to start becoming part of our coaching, because we'll help business grow through social media. Like it's easy, because that's how we've grown our business.
Right.
And I love what you just said then. People say, I can't be on socials. Get on a podcast and someone will do all the work for you. And all you have to do is hit, publish. They'll chop it up. Like Riverside makes reels for us. You don't even need to really do the research. You don't need to do the editing.
And this is where even a lot of PR professionals, I think they miss the mark, because they think, well, my job was to get them on. No. If you truly, what we say with good news is, if you want to engineer omnipresence, you understand the entire cycle, which is the kind of content it produces. And this one conversation, so I have a program, it's called Podcast 365, and it's all about taking the content from these podcasts and repurposing it and atomizing it again and again and again. And you'll find that even after a year, most of your audience is still brand new to those snippets. So keep using it.
That's right. We got a 60 day. Is it 60 or 90 days? 60 days. 60 days. Reels from 60 days ago. Back out.
I mean, that is so. I rarely hear of even a producer that thinks in that way, because they're on to the next. Where I'm telling you, no, you can resurface those things. You can curate them differently, atomize, and then amplify again and again and again.
Atomize and amplify.
Yes.
You've done this before. Atomize. And so just very quickly, can I share with our audience how we came to be on a podcast together?
Yes.
Can I share?
Yes.
So what I love about Shanté was, so I'm flicking through Insta one night, and I don't particularly consume content for content's sake. I'm looking for nuances in content. I'm looking for the singing people. I love the red carpet. I forget his name. The red carpet guy who's making millions just by rolling red carpet out and letting people walk down him. And he said he's got a business coach, and he says on a reel, they've made me millions. They've taught this person how to do social media. So I'm looking at it for content. And then I scrolled one day and I saw this reel that said, get yourself on a podcast and I'll teach you how. And I went, wow, now that's interesting. And I'll teach you to do a pitch. And I messaged the amazing human that was putting that on Insta. And I said, well, I'll save your job. You don't have to pitch. What I'd love to do is talk to you about the importance of media and podcasting, and I guess getting your name and your brand out there from an influence perspective and a thought leader perspective. And we'll talk more about influence in a moment. That's how we met. I saw you on Insta, and you said, "I'll help you get on a podcast," and I said, "I'll save you some time."
Yes, I receive a lot of messages from hosts that are like, please help people pitch better.
Oh,
The bar is underground. And so I end up talking to a lot of podcast hosts like yourself, just everything that I do. And I'm always curious. I'm like, what's the worst pitch you've received? What's the best pitch? And usually they'll be like, well, yours was the best pitch. But then you find these patterns for bad pitches. And I keep thinking, if I start a series, it's going to be a series of bad pitches because I have so many good examples. But like the patterns are things like, a lot of people will just send their resume and then they'll expect the host and their production team to connect the dots for them.
Oh.
And you would think, well, my credentials are going to do all the selling. No, it is, what can you talk about that audience, that host audience is obsessed about? And can you articulate that in 150 words?
Love it. It's not about you. It's about your host. It's about the audience.
It's about the audience because you think about that host. What do they care about the most?
The audience.
They care about their audience. They are the caretaker of an audience that they have carefully brought together. Yes. So literally when I teach people to write these pitches, which, I mean, it took me a minute to figure out how to take, I've been in broadcast journalism. I've been in PR for 20 years. But even the way I pitch hosts, podcast hosts, are different than how I pitch journalists. But what remains the same is you have to be pithy.
You have to be what?
Pithy. 150 words. Pithy.
Oh, concise?
Pithy. Concise, yes. And you have to be able to articulate exactly what a host needs, because most podcast hosts I know, their inboxes are very busy.
I could imagine.
They're, the show is one of 200 things that they're doing at all times.
Correct.
So what I'm even finding is that this formula, I codified everything, is I've had hosts say that I use AI to like organize my inbox, and your pitches are surfacing to the top, where most pitches are like not even making the cut. So I'm like, we're doing something, folks. Yeah.
And what a great testimonial. AI find your pitches before others. That's such a great testimonial. Well done. Congratulations.
Thank
you.
And
I love the way that you just said, I'll reach out and I'll help you pitch, and get you on. I think your commitment was 5 podcasts in 5 days or something. Can't remember what it was, but it caught my eye. And I thought, wow. And then I looked at your Insta, and you haven't been on Insta long. And I thought, well, that's really interesting. Here's someone, this is what I really loved. Like this is a couple of layers deep. This is for my audience, obviously for our audience. I love a caretaker, a curator of the curator of the crowd. I loved the fact that no audience, new to the platform, but a message that just resonated. I said, I've got to reach out. I've got to actually find out off Shanté where this comes from and how you nailed that in one line.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, my world has been doing this for other brands. So I didn't, up until really more recently, where I've realized that there's not enough practitioners for what's coming. And then there's not enough people democratizing PR. PR is still just like, there's this veil of mystique to it. So for most people, thought leaders, they think it's a future them problem. It's something that I'll need an agency, which agencies are expensive. And in my heart of hearts, I know that you can do this. Like you can set up a pipeline of podcast guesting and 5 per week, if that's as many as you want to do, within an hour or 2 of work per week. But you have to nail like certain things before you take it to AI. You can use AI, but most people go to AI and they're like, write me a pitch. No, that's not what's going to resonate with a host, a savvy
Mm,
host.
mm,
But if you know how to research them and then you know how to assemble it, and I have an AI prompt for them, then you're going to write beautiful pitches. You're going to do it in a fraction of the time. And they're going to feel like podcast hosts. I think PR is all about creating this feeling of this person gets it and they get me.
mm.
So it's an immediate yes. And then they can move on with their day.
I love it. I love it. And I would love to. So you're at that end. You're pitching for people to be on a podcast. We think from this end, we think we've nailed the process to running a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how to actually get guests, how to vet guests. The before, you know, you've got some nice messages. You've got our nice page. You've got our frequently asked questions. You know, you've got all the stuff. As I lean out of camera view, you've got all the stuff that you know is relevant, and you can see, even though I've asked 0 of these questions so far, but then there's a follow-up process, and there's some really key questions on here, like the last one, which you would have seen. You know, who's the next guest I should get on? You know, and this is all process. This is all the ways that if you know that a podcast host is in control of their stuff, and they've got to, you know, you got to be able to fit into this process somewhere
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that it's easy for us if you're pitching.
Oh, well, yeah, ultimately it's your job to be a very easy yes with a good pitch and then a very easy guest. You know, a guest who shows up, who understands getting technical equipment is important. Like getting the technical stuff is important to,
Mm,
and it could change. You know, I've had hosts that are like, video quality needs to be whatever. And then usually it's audio, right? I
mm,
need
mm,
audio. Don't
mhm.
use Bluetooth or, you know, there'll be specifications. So you show up like you have considered that with your whole heart. And
I
even if
think,
you
and that,
don't, you don't get it. And then after that, you know, you give headshots if they need
mm,
headshots and you're on time with everything. And from that, hosts to me are some of the most well-connected and charismatic content marketers, like so savvy. It's such a good world to be a part of. Like some of my favorite people are still the people that I could call up and be like, I was on their show years ago. And I'd be like, Anton, I need to ask you a question. What are your thoughts
absolutely.
on this? Who do you
Anytime.
know?
That's right. And you know, who can you introduce me to?
Yeah.
And happy and would love that. And I've made some besties being a podcast host.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful ecosystem. And it's one I've
It is.
loved since, I mean, for decades, for a decade minimum. And then before that, it was just something that I was always curious about.
Beautiful ecosystem. I love the way you speak about this. You just
Thank you.
articulate this. This is like an entity. This thing that's like something that you love, and you know that's like got this energy around it that you feel part of, drawn to. I love it.
Yeah, and I think that's what more people are looking for. I mean, more audiences, they're looking for the niche, you know, does this
Yeah.
speak to me on a few levels?
Mm.
That's why you can have, you know, the 1,000 true fans and you can have a multi-million-dollar business if you have 1,000 true fans.
That's right. And if
So
if you provide a service.
podcasting does that for people. You know, you have listeners, loyal listeners who will listen to 45 minutes, 90 minutes, whatever it is, start to
Mm,
finish. They will not miss an episode. And I
mm,
think that is super cool because where else do you get that?
absolutely. Then they'll buy your stuff. Woot, woot. And then people want to promote on your podcast if people are buying your stuff, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, absolutely. It's such a cool process.
It is.
Thanks for sharing. Love it. Now, quickly, big question. Influence. Topic is influence. Now, thought leaders, their job is influence. They are, you know, that's really what they're probably trying to achieve. They're trying to be visible and then influential. So to get people to change their mindset, to convey that message in a way that's easy to implement.
Yep.
What does the word influence mean to you? And, you know, like I say influence or influencer, what comes up for you?
So when I think of influence, I do think of that equation of visibility with a high degree of credibility that plus, visibility plus credibility equals clout, which is influence. So that clout is earned. I mean, it is very much earned with every deposit that you make. And it is how you talk about big topics, but also process. So most thought leaders, most influencers, thought leaders with influence are talking in frameworks. They're sharing applicable, they're making a complex thing feel approachable, even if it's just the very next steps. So to me, that influence comes from someone thinking, I need that in my life, whether I learned about it 5 minutes ago or 5 months ago. So that ability to influence the direction someone takes with their business, we think in business, right? Like that's the terms. We think, how can we support people get something better, faster, with less friction, save them time, save them money, save them just peace of mind. To me, that's how influencers think. And then that's the outcome, is that people obviously consume their content, consume their products or services. And then they keep watching until at some point they're like, if for any number of reasons, they're like, I'm on to the next.
Off to the next one. Yeah, that's cool.
So if you're thinking, like, a lot of times in business, you think about what is the journey for them. And do I want to create that next thing, or do I just want to be here? But if they keep coming back to you and they keep wanting to know, well, what do you say? What do you think I should do? Then that's influence. That's genuine influence.
Wow. Thank you so much. I love that. Visibility, credibility equals clout, which is influence. I love that so much. Actually, it's funny you mention that. It's like, Spotify gave me my stats recently for the year. And there was so much of this one particular podcast that I listened to. And a shout out to Gary Jubilant at I Catch Killers. So for the first part of the year, I could not get enough of it. But when I saw my Spotify stats, I could not remember that I'd listened. I went, what was that again? I had to rack my brain, and so I think we go in and out of content. So I'll go back to that now. I can't wait to see what Gary's done in the last 9 months. So I think that's right. We float in and out of different niches, different content, depending on where we are in our lives. And I think the the thought leader needs to be there at the right time for that right person.
And if they're part of the bigger conversations, the nuanced conversations through platforms like this, then you're there. You're on the periphery. And in PR, we think about that too. We think about what are the bubbles, and then what are the periphery? What are the feelings? Really, we talk in sentiment a lot, like as positive, neutral, negative is the sentiment. We measure those things. And then all of that adds up to like share of voice. Are we showing up in the right ways, in the right cadence, big and small, so that when it comes to our ideal buyer, are we meeting them right when they need us?
Beautiful. When they need. Thank you so much. The perfect. I love that. We're showing up with the right cadence, with the right vibe.
And that's where I think PR has been siloed a lot with just practitioners, because they think, well, I don't think about the marketing of it. And my career has taken me in and out of marketing, social media, across the board. But truthfully, PR is a comms. It is a comms discipline, communications. So you think about people first, but then people are the way people buy. We know this. It's emotional. So if you can kind of generate that emotive part of it, own something. Own a hot take, own like a big category, but like in your very specific way. And then start breaking it down. Be passionate. Be passionate about something that you could sell again and again and again and again and again. Because that's all it is. Like, it's reps, and it's the new buyer, but also the buyer who, after a year on Spotify, you're thinking, oh, I need to go back. I need to watch his latest episode and get caught up. And it feels exciting. It feels like a joy, right?
It's
So,
exciting. Yeah, there is. There's some anticipation, Nelly. Geez, I
yeah.
wonder what I missed.
So when I think about PR, I do think that is a growth level because it is so much about people first thinking, human first thinking. And we need more of it, especially in the world of AI and automation. And I love AI and automation. But if you can't get the human first principles right, if you can't, I mean, I creep into people's inboxes cold all day. So I better be doing it in a way that adds value. Otherwise, what am I doing with my life?
I love it. Human first. I think the only way you can be human first, Shanté, correct me if I'm wrong, is to add value first. We always say add value first.
You have to. And I think if you're regurgitating something you heard, if you haven't actually done the thing, is another one that I see. You know, if you adopted frameworks for someone else, but you never put them into play and then got evidence that it worked for you and in your way, and then you go try to sell it, then that's where there's this massive disconnect. And you feel it, they feel it. Like I sell one product really at this point, and I sell it again and again and again, but it's really just the entry point, and that is podcast pitching. Like I will show you how to write the best podcast pitch of your life, and you'll never have to worry about podcast pitching ever again. But that trajectory is obviously people think, well, what does a body of work look like? What credibility markers should I build? What type of always on PR system? What would that look like? And then you'll always have a fraction of your audience that are ready to take the next step and they want to take it with you.
Wow. Wow. Business owners, if you're out there listening to this, please, I hope you've had a pen and paper out. If you haven't, maybe listen again and take notes, because what Shanté said today is absolute gold for growing a business. Add value first, get in at the bottom level, and know that you can help people more than they know how much you can help them just yet.
Yeah.
Wow, Shanté, thank you so much for sharing the world of influence and PR and communication.
I love talking about it. If you can't tell, I'm very passionate about it.
And you do it so well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, have you got, just very, very quickly, let's do a couple of the question set. Have you got someone who are you most proud of? Who's the podcast guest that you've got on that, you know, went on to Joe Rogan's podcast or something? Is there someone that, you know, who stands out for you as someone that you've really, really been able to influence and help?
Oh gosh, that is a really good question. You know, some of my favorite have been some of the newest podcasts. Like those conversations. It's like so unassuming. But obviously some of the big wins, like getting people in touch with like the Tim Ferrisses of the world. I would say one of my most favorite from early on was John Lee Dumas. He has Entrepreneur on Fire, and it was when he was just starting out. He and I did an episode, and he told me, he said, I have this really bullish idea. I want to do a daily podcast. And at the time, no one was doing daily, right? Because that type of production without even the virtual studios that we have now, just almost impossible. And I remember asking him some hard-hitting questions like, well, how are you going to do that? Are you going to sleep? And he was just so fired up about the idea. And so I was able to watch that trajectory for him and then look back on, obviously I was like, go for it, man. Like I live in the world of possibility with you. And he did. Like he's been the #1 business podcast on iTunes for over a decade as a result. And I don't know if he still does it. I mean, I need to look him up and see if he still does a daily episode. It's so much easier now, but he was a team of one and he just had this big idea. So I'd say that was probably the most, honestly, to be part of that with him in those moments where he's like, poke holes. I'm like, okay, let's triage this.
Sound like that was it. It's easy to poke holes in big ideas, I reckon.
Right. So it was like, okay, let's see where things could fall out. And it, it was never going to happen. He
Yeah.
had that enthusiasm.
He
So
was going to succeed.
he was absolutely going to succeed. And then he was so
Wow.
transparent about that success, about how to do it. I think he started publishing his profit and losses reports almost immediately.
Wow.
Every single month he would say, this is what it took and this is what we're making.
What am I?
This is what has been the loss. So he, from day one, he's like, I want other people to do this,
Wow. That's giving back, isn't it? Adding value. That's thought leadership. When you
Yeah.
can help people make money the same way that you have and potentially help them go on and surpass what you've achieved, that to me is the greatest gift. That's influence.
Mm-hmm. And I know he inspired like the Pat Flynn's of the world who, went on to create courses for how to start podcasts. But Pat Flynn also will publish his profit and loss report. And that's something they just do. They don't talk about doing, they just do it.
And there's some great sayings about don't listen to what people say, watch what they do. And when you've got people, the action takers, they're legit, they're authentic or genuine.
Yep.
Wow. Great answer to that question. It's very thoughtful because that was stumped you at this, and then you came back with an answer like that. Very impressive. Our guests are lucky to have you. Thank you so very much again. Shanté, have you got like a life mantra or a leadership mantra? What do what's your favorite quote? What do you hang your hat on? What's important to you?
So what I say to myself, and I've been saying this from the time I was 14 years old, because I'm someone who has big goals, big dreams, lives in that world of possibility, thinks anything is possible if you think it. I constantly remind myself to be easy about it. Because I think, first, I could figure it out. But figuring it out could be a rough, bridge to burnout. And I've definitely experienced that early in my career. So the be easy about it is a reminder there's usually people that could make your journey easy if you just had a conversation. And there's usually allowing that needs to happen in all forms of business. So my mantra to myself forever has been, be easy about it, Shanté. Just a reminder, because it doesn't come natural to me. I think, I'll just like work all night.
What time? So just to put this into perspective, it's lunchtime here. And as my last coaching client was walking out, we're always back to back during the day. I said, I've got to go, I've got to coach. I've got a podcast to do. And I said, and that person said, where are they? The States? I said, yeah. I said, geez, it must be late over there. And I said, it probably is now that I think about it. What time is it, Shanté?
So we started at 7 p.m., which I thought was perfect. I'd wrapped up my Sunday chores and I'm like, I'm going to go have a fun conversation with Anton.
I love it. Well done. 7 p.m. Oh, that's not too bad. 7 p.m. on a Sunday night. That is so cool.
Debbie was so good about the back and forth. But we figured it out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ooh, you got to thank you. I tell Deb how amazing she is regularly. So thank you. Got to have a good team. Hey, Shanté.
I mean, she was so mindful of like the time zones and like being really detailed. And I'm like, girl.
Girl. You got this, girl.
You know what you're doing. I like it.
You never got a girl before. That's your first girl for Debbie. I love it. And in a beautiful American accent too, by the way. How cool. How cool. Are we allowed to have this much fun during a work day? I think we should. Now, Shanté, that's phenomenal. What a great. Have you enjoyed the comment? I hope you've had fun, because I've had fun. So.
These are my favorite moments. I genuinely think if anyone wants to be out there, create a lot of visibility, it's the most fun way to do it. Because I'd say even if you're shy, I am deeply introverted, but one-on-one conversations, it's like I have a lot to say and I'm very curious. And I mean, most people are like those. I think the co-conversation, the co-creation of content is pretty magical. No, it does not surprise me that people will pay attention for longer.
Co-creation of content is magical. That is just beautifully put. Now, it's Sunday night. We're going to get you to bed very soon. I'm an early sleeper. I'm in bed by about 8:30 every night. So I don't know if you are, but I'm up at 4. Are you an early riser?
No.
Okay.
I wish I could be. Every year I'm like, this is the year I'm going to fall in love with the morning.
I'm fixing this up.
Yeah, but then I'm like, be easy about it, Shanté. And then I'm like, I'm being too easy about it, Shanté. Because, yeah.
Oh, that's don't you hate it when your life goal gets in the way of, like, you know, all the achievements that you want to make?
Yeah, I'm like, I should be that person that's up at 5 or 5:30, and someday. Yeah.
Someday. I love it. Shanté, you have been amazing. Now, can I ask you one final question? Is that all right? I know it's, we've
Please.
just gone a little bit over time. If there was one person that you thought I should get on next who would be an amazing guest for this podcast, could you please, and you don't have to give me their name now, if you can, great. If not, could you please connect me with that amazing human, because that is our next podcast guest.
Yes, I know exactly who I'd put you in contact with. It is my business partner, and he's one of the smartest people I know. And what's really cool is he does not come from PR at all. He comes from this very digital marketing, but applicable to dev and growth. And he knows more about AI than anyone I've ever met. And he's my business partner for a reason. He's quite brilliant and a good human, really good human.
Oh, stop it. We use those words all the time. I'm a good human.
Yes.
I love it. Shanté Micah, you have been best ever. We're going to push this to the front of the list, this podcast, because we've got probably 20 in edit at the moment.
That's amazing. Thank you.
I do probably 5 or 6 a week now. We've really leaned in. So, yeah, we're going to see if we can get to 1,000 pretty quickly. And
you and John Lee Dumas doing the daily rollout, basically.
Yeah, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we put a new episode out.
I don't think people realize what that is, what that takes. That's a lift. That's amazing.
But you might as well jump straight in, Shanté. If you're going to do it well, as they say.
Congratulations for doing that. Yes.
Oh, you're amazing. Yeah. Not many people realise, I don't think, what happens behind the scenes. So thank you for joining us on our Find the Influence podcast, the only influence podcast that I was able to find on Spotify when I first started doing this, which is one of the reasons I picked the topic. And for all you leaders out there, please reach out if you want more information around your influence skills. Thank you, Shanté Micah.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. We just had an amazing guest on to another amazing podcast of Find Your Influence. My name's Anton, Guinea, and for 20 years I have been sitting, working with, training, coaching and consulting leaders at all levels of organisations. I've coached Gen Z leaders right through to baby boomer leaders. I've done 1,500 one-on-one leadership coaching sessions. My mission on this planet is to help leaders create high-performing and psychologically safe teams. If you want to upgrade your leadership, upskill your teams, or upskill your leadership, please reach out. You can get me at anton@theguineagroup.com.au. Please tune into our next episode. These podcast chats are amazing. The value and the information that you get will help you be more influential and help you be a better leader.